Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today we are gonna sew a blazer jacket, so let's get started. How I just said, this project is based on the blazer I just uploaded a couple weeks ago. You can just go ahead and check that out. All the sewing pattern you're gonna find down below in the description box in my shop, so just go ahead and check that out. There's so many nice sewing patterns, all definitely something you would really like to do. And also maybe you check me on Instagram so I can just go ahead and check out what you do. And if you have any question for following along this video, just write down a comment, and I'm really looking forward to help you out and answer all your questions so you get really nice projects. So we have the same sleeve, but we have no buttons on the sleeve, so it's like more easier sleeve to sew, but we have all the seams right on the sleeve, so that's just easy. So I kept that because it also matches the front and the back. We have multiple seams for that, so it's kind of like a corset element. I'm giving you a lot of tips for sewing as corset and making that all symmetrically and nice working out. Another thing I was inspired by was a suited vest. So the vest is also, so this shirt is going to be cropped a little bit. It's not like that you see your belly or anything, it's just that it's matching up with your high-waisted pants, and then it goes a little bit more down in the front, and then on the back it's just nice like a shirt, I would say. In the front we have 4 buttons, so you can also put it like going in and out in this way. You can also, styling thing, you can just wear it open like a jacket, because we do have lining inside. If you don't want lining, it's fine, just do it without. It's that's just up to you. I have mine with it. And then we can just go ahead and check out what we need. So we have a size guide, and in the size guide you can just check out your size. I would always recommend you to check the chest size and then get your size. The length you can always like check up. You can measure on the center back. You are going to need quite much, so you do need the fabric. Obviously I'm sewing size small like always, so you need the fabric. You need fleece lining because we have to make the fabric a little bit stronger. I use silk fabric for that. You can use any fabric you want, even like denim fabric or cotton. You can use anything, or lace fabric, that's just up to you. And then also lining fabric you need for just the inside, so you're having a jacket, and then 4 buttons for the front, and that's basically it what you need: the sewing machine and sewing tools. And then, so I would say we're just gonna start, and you can just go ahead and cut all the pieces out. So these are all the pieces we are needing. I'm gonna guide you through it so you can just check if you have everything. Here you see the front for the lapel collar. I have that twice in the main fabric, and then also so I did name them front 1. Front 2 is the top one, front 3 is the side part. Then we have the side part which connect the back and the front, and then we have back 1 and back 2. So you can just sew them on each other with the numbers, but for that I'm also going to guide you through it, because there are some little tips I'm going to give you. So for now we have these 2 pieces twice for the main fabric in interfacing. Then we have the side part, same for the main fabric, interfacing twice, and then also the lining fabric twice. Side part we have also the same. We have a double cut out main fabric, interfacing, and also twice the lining fabric. We have the web color, which is the main fabric, twice and interlining. Then we have the top color and the bottom color, which is just once and also with interlining. And then we have the back, which is twice the main fabric with interfacing, and then twice the lining fabric. Here we have the back, which I already sewed once, but you just in the center back, but I'm going to guide you through it in just in a second. And that's all the corset parts and elements you're going to need. After we have here the sleeves, which is 2 different sewing patterns. We have 1 sewing pattern for the lining fabric and 1 sewing pattern for the outside fabric, for the main fabric. So you need the main fabric twice for the side sleeve, and then the lining fabric. And for the lining fabric you need to use the sewing pattern for the lining fabric, obviously. The same for the top sleeve, which is the bottom sleeve, the same thing. And what I just did here, maybe you have seen my blazer video, I did put some interfacing just on the top to secure the armhole part right here, and just looks a little bit better. The same part for here. I just made interfacing onto the two parts from the sleeve right there. It's just gonna look better and it's easier to sew. You have it in your sewing pattern marked, so don't worry. We have the lapel part right here, which is just twice the main fabric. This is the part which is like the interfacing basically from the lapel, so whenever it folds over, that's what you're gonna see right here. So this part you need to cut out twice and put also some fleece lining on it. And then we have twice the attached pattern for the front. You have the lining fabric right here and then the lapel part right here. Lining fabric will connect with the main fabric right in this position. There are many pieces, but we're gonna go step by step and then you're gonna be really fine. So I'm gonna start right here with the center back and I'm gonna start sewing it. I'm doing it like symmetrically, so I'm taking the lining fabric and sew that, and right after I'm gonna sew the main fabric together on the center back as well. It's way more easier to work symmetrically than just to do the lining fabric and then the other fabric, because then you're gonna maybe change a little bit, but in this way you're just gonna really sew them symmetrically and equal. And then also on this project there's a little tip for like ironing all the seams. It's really important to iron them. Here you see I'm gonna spread the seam on the center front. First I'm gonna have it left side up, so I'm just gonna spread it, make it flat, and then I'm turning it around and just on the right side on. I'm gonna lay out all the pieces how they belong to be, so they're in the right order, and then I'm just gonna, from the center back to back part number 1 for the corset, I'm sewing these two pieces again on the right position. You see that right here. I'm just gonna pin that downwards, put them right sides together, sew them, and then I'm gonna do this on both sides with the lining fabric and also with the outside fabric, the main fabric. So we're just gonna go symmetrically. I'm doing this for like all the pieces. So how I said, it's really important to iron it correctly. I'm gonna push the seam to the center back for the back part, and then it just makes a better curve. I'm doing it from the inside and then also from the outside, both pieces. Afterwards I'm gonna sew the side pieces on how I did with the like also symmetrically, so that's fitting all the way and it's going just easier way to do so. Then I'm gonna iron them as well, and then I will iron the seam again to the center back. Don't worry about the off edges on the bottom. We're gonna correct that. That's just normal because we have corners. Don't worry about that. But I'm going to show you this as well when we connected all the pieces. Following along, I'm going to start with the front number 1, so I'm going to leave this part just in a little bit away. Starting with the front number 1 and the front number 2, just sewing them on top of each other, how the seam belongs to be. I'm going to iron, going to pin that right here, iron on top of that, and here I'm going to spread the seam, so because we have just a straight line, and I feel like it's just going to look way better. So we have connected that, and then we can connect the front number 1, which we just attached to the front number 2. There is a curve, so it's a little bit tricky to do so, but we do have the notches on your sewing pattern. You have, like how I haven't said already, but you have notches on your sewing pattern. You're gonna see that, so just follow them along. You can connect them to each other, just put pin-ins and sew them also symmetrically. It's really important to sew them like the same type, just easier. So, and it makes a really big difference, even if you're working with so many pieces and it's kind of like a corset element, you really want to do that. So I'm here connecting the front number 3 with the side element, and so they're just along. Then we have everything together. And for the seam right here, after sewing it, I'm also pushing it to the center front now. So basically you have the side pieces, and then all the seams go to the center front, and all the seams to the back goes to the center back. It's kind of a front. The outer fabric I just finished. You can see that how it looks just like that, and you can now attach the shoulder pieces. So just putting a pin in and then you can sew the shoulder pieces. Now move on with the lining fabric, which you just have laid out like that. So we have now different pieces, so that's how it's gonna look. We have here the front number 3, this is the numbers, here's the side from the lining fabric, so that's basically the part which goes to connect the front and the back. And then we have here the front with once the lining fabric and once the main fabric. And remember, when you would have sewed that, it's just the main and the same pattern then for the front. Something we should do is now connecting, so we're going to move everything away. And I would also here just finish the front, so we're going to work symmetrically again. So just go ahead and put them to each other so they're connecting, obviously the long side to each other like that, right sides together. And then you have to sew from all the way the top to the bottom, the same here from the top to the bottom. So how you see, I also did iron it so they're nice and flat, because you have here thinner fabric and like stronger fabric. I did make this seam alone just to the fabric with the less strangeness, so to the lining fabric, the same with the other side, and then I ironed on top of that. So curves are really tricky, so I am going to attach just the front piece with the lining fabric, the front piece number 3 with the, which is now the lining fabric. That should be the leftover from your pieces. I'm just going to sew the curves onto the curves like I did with the main fabric. Also made, and I also ironed it all and everything to the center front except for this one right here. And now I would just attach the shoulder parts right to the from the lining fabric. So we're just attaching the shoulder parts right here. They should fit really well. So that is made, and I'm leaving off. I'm not going to sew the sides right here, so I'm not going to attach them to each other. It's just better to work with it like that. And so you have the lining fabric all together, and then you have also the main fabric all together, like the outside. You can now go ahead and try this on. If anything is changing or not working out really well, just go ahead and change it. You have all the seams, so you can just adjust everything. If you need the armhole maybe a little bit lower, that's fine totally, so you can just go ahead and do so. Or like the shoulders, you have to move up a little bit, then you would have to do that. And also on the lining fabric you have to do exactly the same. So for me everything did work out really well, so that's great. So we're going to move these two pieces away, and you have to grab your collar stuff, so your web collar and also your top and bottom collar. For the collar you need your web collar, which I have right here. You have that twice, and then you see also you have like a longer side and a shorter side, and you're just gonna need one for right now, and then the other one you can just place right on top. You have your pattern as well, so you can really check which one is the longer side and which one is the shorter side. So you're just gonna see that. You see this is the curve which is longer, so that's the shorter side. And then we have a top and a bottom collar right here. This is the bottom collar. So you laid it out like that. That's the longer side right here, and this size goes on the curve right here. So you're just gonna put them right sides together, the center to the center, and then you're just gonna go all the way around. So we have the top and the bottom color. I'm just gonna sew right here and right there as well, and then I'm gonna go iron them. You can now, after ironing it, you can just take your bottom collar right here, and you have to put them right sides together onto the main fabric. So I did mark the center front, and then I'm just gonna go pin it all the way around. So I just pinned it like that, and you see we have a really big gap right here and this corner here. So what I'm gonna do when I sew, I'm just gonna sew right until here, then I'm gonna cut just a little bit in here, just a notch, so I can bend that better like that, and sew all the way down to the other corner. And then here you have about 1 centimeter off, so we need that to attach the colors. So 1 centimeter you're gonna stop sewing, and then you can just sew all the way like that. So, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with also the lining fabric. I have here just the top collar, which is a little bit bigger. So the both colors are now attached to each other. So the colors are now attached to the main pieces right here. They look really nice. So when you would bend it, you have always almost the lapel color right here, well, the form. And then something we have to put them now right sides together. We're just gonna put the two colors on top. So putting just a pin into the corners right there. And then right here, we have to get them on top of each other. But then we're just gonna push like the seams right here downwards. And then you also put a pin in, just where there's seams touching, like that. Because first of all, we're just gonna sew right there to the top, and you see also the top collar is a little bit bigger. So that's just because then we have the form, and that's just how we want that to be. So you have to stretch the other collar a little bit. So I'm just gonna pin all the way around. You just see we have to sew from here all the way there, and then down here, and the seams or the seam allones are pushed downwards. So I'm going to start right here and ending right there. Put the pieces together, which is just the corners right here. So we did, how you remember, we pushed them downwards. We are now going to push them upwards. And then just pinning all the way down. I attach them now both, and then I'm gonna just sew this little corner and all the way down, the same for the other side. And then the two pieces are connected. We can then turn it inside out. So here you see I did also turn that inside out, so we have really nice corners right there. And then also here I ironed on top of that. And something we have to do, so it's gonna flap over just like that. So 1 thumb wide, I would say. You go inside, so you go between these twos, and then just 1 thumb size downwards, right there. You have to put a pin in, because now we have to cut right into this to go all the way to the seam. So then we can, or we actually have to put the seam alone to the facing line, like push that to the inside, the seam alone, and then use top stitch from the notch all the way down, really, really close. We say in the shadow of the seam all the way downwards, so we have a really nice edge. Not gonna move the lapel or anything, just the seam right here, and we have a nice edge. So I'm going to do that. So, and then the same for the other side as well. One thing as well we have to do is attaching the colors. You see they're not bent, like they're bendable. We don't want that, so we're just gonna go ahead and attach not the like the bottom from the web collar where the lining fabric is attached, and then as well right there, just like that. Just the seam allones, and the same for here until the shoulder seam, and then we stop. So here you see it's all made. I sewed that here so you can see it's not gonna scoop over anymore, so the lining is really nice. We have a really nice edge right here. The lining goes inside, and we have a really pretty side from the inside. I also did close the seam from the lining fabric, the side part with the back part, the same from the other sides. I would say we're just gonna go ahead and start with the sleeves. We just pinned the bottom sleeve onto the upper sleeve, and I have the longer curve. You have a curve right here that belongs to the side from the upper sleeve, so you have a really nice curve, and you can see that right here and as well right here. So I'm gonna sew just both of them. So I'm gonna pin the lining fabric the same that I did with the main fabric, except for one sleeve. I'm gonna leave a gap open because that's gonna be the gap where we're gonna turn everything inside out and we have to hand sew on the very last step. So I'm going to do a safety stitch right here, so the thread is not going to go out of the fabric or rip or anything. And then we have this open gap, which you're going to need for turning everything inside out. So I prepared now the lining fabrics both and also the main fabric. So I'm just going to sew them together right now. The jacket is now done. You see also we have the lining inside, so we have a really nice inside and outside, and we can now put the sleeves together. I also ironed on top of that, so we have nice sleeves on that. And something for the sleeves to put them now inside out. First of all, you have to check that the seams are matching up, so they're not turning or twisted or anything. So you literally just grabbing both seams like that, then you're holding and you go just between the lining fabric and the main fabric all the way to the fabric. Sleeves on top of each other, and you just have to pin it also around. Do is sewing all the way around, and then you can back turn it inside to the sleeve, and we have really nice edges and corners. We can also iron on top of that, and that's fine. So I'm going to do this right now with this sleeve, and then I'm going to do it also with the other sleeve, so we have both really nice sleeves. You can see the sleeves, they look really nice, and I turned them inside out already. You can also iron them, and so they're nice and flat. And now we can move on with the hem. We left out the one gap from the sleeves. That's where I'm gonna grab now into, and I'm just gonna pull everything out. So you're just gonna go between these two layers right here, and then you have all the seams, and you're just grabbing, for example, one seam which are matching up. I'm gonna match the center back right here, how I did with the sleeves as well, like how they belong to be, just like that. And I'm gonna pull everything through it. Before I do that, I'm just gonna put a pin in right here, and then I'm just really gonna throw everything inside out through the sleeve, just like that. And then you can just match up all the seams right here all the way to the front right there, and then as well the other side, just like that. And something I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna sew all the way right here, and then I can just turn everything inside out again. So that is made right here. I also ironed on top, so it looks really nice and clean. We have a really good curve right here. It's just placing those on top of each other, and I have to put 4 buttons in. I'm gonna do this right onto the chest area. It's just one where we did the notch right there. I'm just gonna measure 7 centimeters down to find another one, and then another 7 to find the other one, and then the last one also 7 centimeters apart, so they're all equal. And then I'm gonna do 4 buttonholes into that, and I'm going to sew afterwards the button on as well. Okay guys, that's it for today. I really hope you liked today's project. If you have any questions, comment them down below. I'm really looking forward to help you out. Also tag me on Instagram or check out my Instagram. I'm always posting something on fashion or what I'm doing. So I would say we're just gonna roll the clip and I see you in the next video. Bye!